All right, welcome to Vacuum Wars. This is going to be a tutorial on how to use the Roborock app. I'm working with the Roborock Q Revo today, but this should work with any Roborock. I hit the plus button in the top right and to add a device, and we can do this a few different ways. But the way that I'm choosing to do it today is using the QR code scan. So as soon as I hit that plus button, it opened up this video here. And I'm going to open up the dustbin on this. We can see this QR code right over here in the top right. You should be able to just, even with bad light here, it should get it pretty easy. And now what it's asking me to do is hold down. I'm going to go ahead and put the robot back on the charger first. And then I'm going to hold down those two buttons that it's showing me to do. And you'll hear a noise.
Resetting Wi-Fi.
As soon as you hear that noise, you can hit that Wi-Fi reset button here, and that will enable the next button. You want to confirm your Wi-Fi network or write it in there and hit next. And this is going to probably do this automatically if I hit join. Sometimes it doesn't do it automatically. Sometimes it wants you to physically go to your settings and your Wi-Fi like you would if you were connecting to somebody else's router. You would go in there and you would look, instead for looking for a different router, you're actually looking for something that says Roborock or something like that. And you connect to your robot really quick like you would as if it was a router. And then you go back to the app and then it gets it all figured out and connects you back to your Wi-Fi. But in this case, if I hit join, I think it's all going to do all that whole thing automatically. I just mentioned that because I think, so we heard that connecting to Wi-Fi, standby. And so it's doing all this stuff automatically.
Wi-Fi connected.
And once it says Wi-Fi connected, we're going to hit use now. Legal information, agree. Now I have a map because I have the Roborock app already installed and lots of other Roborocks. It already knows what my map is. But if this was you, it'd be asking you to run a quick map. You could also go up here to your, on the top right, to your options and hit manage maps. And here we've got multiple maps, and I could hit create new map. And let's go ahead and do a quick mapping, and let's start this just as if I had done this for the first time. So the quick mapping usually takes about 5 minutes, and it just goes around your house kind of randomly, really. It's not cleaning anything. It's not got its suction or brushes spinning. It's just sort of looking for where the walls are with its laser, and it takes about 5 minutes. So I'll speed this part up, and we'll work with the map after this. Okay, so after the quick mapping, or after its initial run, it will have created a map of your floor plan. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to start by managing that map, which I'm going to go into the options. I'm going to choose the map that it just created. And we're going to start by, I think, editing the rooms. Merge, divide, and name every room in your home. This is a good thing to do for the first thing here. And we see on the bottom we have merge, divide, and name. And one thing I like to do first is to divide, and you just kind of hit your finger in the middle there, and it'll create a line which you can do all kinds of stuff with. But I'm just going to do this and divide the room about right here by hitting the check mark on the bottom, and it will create a division right there. I think I might need to do that again since it wasn't, oh dear, resplit rooms, okay. There we go. Okay, let's try this again. I'm going to divide. I'll just say right there, just like where I put it. And when you'll know that it really divided the room because it'll be a different color. So we're going to divide this again This one, its default is kind of good idea of where the room should be divided. I think I want to divide the hallway and I definitely want to divide the bathroom here with the bedroom. And I'm not sure yet if I think I do want to divide the hallway and the bedroom. So we'll put it right about there. Okay. And then I'm just going to start naming everything. This is really good to do because that way you can tell Alexa to go clean the living room, or it's just better if you use the dining room, the default names here, kitchen. I'm going to put hallway if they've got it, or corridor. We'll put this as the bathroom and this as the bedroom. Okay, so that's all named, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit the bottom right check mark to update the map. Okay, and go back. We'll edit the map. Now is a good time, I think, to add any no-go zones that you know for sure. You may not know where the robot gets stuck right away, but this is kind of how you do it. There are 3 types of no-go zones you can add. Invisible walls, they're kind of like this, where this is kind of what I want to do here. I want to put one so it doesn't get at that part of the room where it can get very stuck. So I'm going to hit there. And then you can also add no-go zones, which is basically the same thing, except it's a little box instead of a little line. I don't need to add any of those at the moment, though. And then you have no mop zones. I found that with the Roborocks, I don't actually use no mop zones all that much because the ones that raise up the mop pads, they already sense where the carpets are. But nevertheless, if you know places that you definitely know that you never want it to mop, that's what you would use that for. So once you have your no-go zones set up that you know that you want, you can always add them later. At the top right corner, you hit that check mark. And there are a lot of other things you can do with the map, especially these days when we can edit a surface on the Roborock app. This is one of my favorite little features here, where we can choose the floor type. In our case, I have sort of laminate flooring, and it has a certain direction. And my wife has always really wanted us to be able to tell the robot vacuums which way the floor goes. So in this case, you can see I can edit how I want that floor to be, horizontal or vertical. In this case, the whole house has that same horizontal floor, and I can go double check, where it all is, but if I was in doubt, but that is how it is laid out in the entire house. So that means that the robot will mop in that direction, and it reduces streaks and everything. So it's a pretty cool feature. And then I'm just going to hit OK in the floor type. Another thing you might want to set up ahead of time is carpet. I'm going to add a carpet. Now, again, this is not something I feel like I really have to do. And I actually don't do this and have never really done it in my own house, but because it already recognizes the carpet. I can see, for example, places that it's already recognized the carpet, and it has a really, really good carpet sensor. So kind of like the no mop zones, I don't really feel it's necessary. And trapping threshold, that would be a good thing to do. If you know of a threshold where it's likely to get stuck, you could add, but I don't see any reason for that either. Let's go back in here and edit some furniture. This is also something I don't do a whole lot of. I'm scrolling here. I'm looking for this sofa. It helps a little bit with 3D mapping and some other things. But you can see that you can you already have a good idea of where. So this is kind of a recliner here that it is confusing. So I'm going to put that there just like that. Let's see, I've got a, you can add a whole lot of stuff. Dining room table, I think, is a helpful one. It does help its algorithm a little bit if it knows that's where a dining room table is. And it also helps that you could use it in the, say, clean around the dining room table or something like that, I suppose. Anyway, that's basically that. Quite frankly, I'm not sure of the benefit of adding your furniture. If it's more than just, and maybe let me know in the comments if you know why I should do that. I know it's cool in the 3D mapping situation. And speaking of that, we'll look at that in a minute. Let's see. I think that's all I want to do here. We can name the map. So, obviously this is not that helpful. You'd be able to figure it out. Map name, delete, backup. Okay, so I think we're done with the map stuff. I think you can add, I'm not sure how many floors you can add, but quite a lot, more than you'll likely need. All right, let's go to the main page. I was talking about 3D mapping. You can see it here in the top right where it looks like a box and a pencil kind of right under the minutes. If I click that, it's going to give me map details. And I can look at this in a lot of different ways. You can see the 3D map, which is kind of a cool thing to do. But again, and you can see my little no-go zone there. You can see my chair and my dining room table. It's cool. You can see the way that I put the floors in there. Pretty cool stuff, but I'm not sure, I need it. So this is another thing. So I'm going to use the matrix scanning tool, and you can see here that it's basically scanning my house, and it's kind of a neat little thing. And it's just making a much more in-depth map of my floor plan. So let's just input this data in here and see, it might actually really help to get really good data around our dining room table, for instance. All right, what did that do? Map matched. You'll have to forgive me because I don't actually know what the benefit of those things are. And if anybody should know, it should be me, right? But I don't know. Anyway, so I always think of the map types as like a personal preference, because mostly what I need the map for is to see if it cleaned where it was supposed to clean, and all the normal data that I get, where it cleaned and that kind of stuff, set up my no-go zones. But let's get into the actual stuff that I do think matters. And some of that is here from your main dashboard. If you look at sort of the bottom right, you'll see the moon and the water droplet. That is sort of the main thing that you'll be dealing with on your robot vacuum. This tells you right before, so you might hit this clean button on the bottom left when you want it to just start cleaning. But before you do that, you kind of want to set it up for what you want it to do. So my mop pads are attached, for instance. I think I'll set my suction power to balanced. I'll put my water flow to high. And I like the route to be standard. I don't like the route to be fast. I find that it is not very efficient on fast mode. I don't mind the suction power being balanced as opposed to max because it wears out a lot of battery life. But what I will do is I'll go up here to carpet settings and add carpet boost. It should be defaulted to carpet boost, but if it's not, I would have that boosted. So what that does is it will boost the suction when it senses carpet, which is where it needs it most. But then otherwise, when it's on hard floors, it'll be in balanced mode, which saves battery life. So I find that's the best settings in my view for getting the best performance when it needs it on carpet, but otherwise on hard floors where it's really just about mechanics to pick up debris and pet hair you don't really need the suction. The water flow, I find you put it on too much and it's just too much water. High, maybe even medium would be better. And then, of course, you can also just mop only or vacuum only. Interestingly, in the Roborock thing, you can only get to max plus in vacuum only mode for some reason. I don't know what that is. So a customized room cleaning situation is where each room can have different settings. So, for example, let's say the kitchen, what I want it to do in the kitchen is actually have low suction power, but really high water flow and do a vacuum and mop situation. And so it will change the settings per room. And that's a really useful thing if you have a high traffic area. Let's say you had a corridor, or, I could actually make the entryway in my house a separate room and make that a completely different settings because, people would walk in with muddy feet or something like that. So you can customize the settings and so on, at least the water level and suction settings per room. Okay. Let's continue here. So you've got on the left here, we got full rooms and zones. So full means that it will vacuum the entire house, this floor plan as it is. Like, just vacuum all of this, please, except for anywhere you have a no-go zone. So that's what full means. A room means that you choose which room. Let's say I just choose the kitchen, and it will go vacuum and mop or whatever you have it set for just the kitchen. And then you've got this cycle button where you could say, I want it to vacuum the kitchen 3 times. So that's an option that you can't do when it's on full. You can't tell it to say clean the whole map 3 times, but you can say clean the kitchen 3 times. The other option is zone cleaning, which gives you a little bit more fine tuning. I could use the zone cleaning to just go mop the kitchen. I could just put my square right in there and hit clean, and it would start doing that. Or, like I said, I could use the zone cleaning to make a real small area, maybe right around my entryway in my house, or maybe just around, for example, the toilet in the bathroom. I could have it just clean there, which is a pretty neat little feature. And you can also tell it to clean more cycles. You can also add zone cleaning, so it could do more than one zone in one run. So full rooms and zones, I use those quite frequently. Whoops. Okay, let's move on to some of the settings here on the top right. So we've covered most of what I consider important on the dashboard. I consider, okay, so let me just make sure I'm correct about that. Yeah, I think we've covered everything here on the dashboard. Room zones, you've got this. I've got it uncustomized. I'm actually going to switch that back to that because I'm more familiar with it. Okay, top right. We've got manage maps, which we've already looked at. Let's go to schedules. So this is the top right. We have no cleaning schedules yet. Top right, you see that plus button. So let's say I want it to clean when I'm at, whatever, let's say a certain time. I'm at work, I'm not at work, I don't know. And then we hit OK. We want it to repeat. You could say weekdays every day, or you could do a custom situation where you could just say Mondays and Thursdays. I want it to clean. And what do you want it to clean? What the mode do you want it to clean? And you could set your settings for, and you could have it just clean individual rooms. So it's very, very easy to customize your schedules here. And I do think that's a good way to remember to get your vacuum on a schedule, to do it multiple times a week, especially if you have a lot of pet hair. I found that, you don't want to do just like, if you haven't used this before and you vacuum for the first time and you've got a lot of pet hair, it's going to be a lot. It's going to overload it probably, but you'll find that there's way more pet hair than you think, especially under carpets under couches and under beds and stuff where you haven't been vacuuming before. And it can clog up the auto empty bin. So it's good to do it multiple times a week It's actually, the Roborocks are pretty good about not clogging up. I actually haven't had a clog in I don't know how long with these, but okay, so let's go to reactive obstacle avoidance. Basically, I would say just always keep this on. This is using that front-mounted camera, or it's not a camera actually. In this case, it's a structured light situation. The less collision mode, I think, is probably okay. This means it's going to be less likely to hit walls and stuff like that, but you sacrifice efficiency, so it's going to clean less area and get less close to the walls and stuff, if I understand it right. And I frankly have not noticed collisions to be a problem with Roborocks. I mean, they don't really even use their bump sensors that much. They already are pretty careful with their IR sensors, so it's not something I think about. Carpet settings. So dynamic lift, I see no reason to not always have that there. What that is the mop pads, they lift when they sense carpet, and that just keeps you from having to think about ever changing the mop pads. You know, it's washing the mop pads, it's drying the mop pads. If everything goes right, you shouldn't have to think about that very much. But you can have the option of avoiding. So because it has really good carpet sensors, if you hit this, it'll just not go on carpets, and then you can ignore carpets, where it will just pretend like everything is hard floors, which I can't imagine why you would want to do that, quite frankly, and unless you physically took the mop pads off. But I'm going to keep mine in dynamic lift. You could vacuum the carpet first. That would actually keep it from, you make extra sure that your carpets would not get wet. If you were concerned that the mop pads weren't going to lift high enough for your carpet, well, you could just say, where the carpets are, robot, so just vacuum those first and then do your mopping second. That way the mop pads, I think the mop pads would already be wet because it pre-moistens them. So I'm not sure why that would be helpful. Okay, carpet boost, I say always keep on. Deep carpet cleaning. This is dangerous only in the sense that it can wear your battery out. If you have a situation where it's got a big area to cover, if it goes over the carpet twice, it could. I think it's a good idea if you can do it. It'll be a longer run, but your carpets could always use more cleaning with a robot vacuum. That's one of the things that robots are not as good as traditional vacuums with, that is to say, deep cleaning carpets. So if it's a concern of yours and you can get away with it with the battery life, I would try it with deep carpet cleaning. Let's see. Let's go to floor settings. Clean along floor direction. We have that on. That's where we set the hard floors to go in the right direction. Let's see what else we have here. Dock settings. Okay, so we have the Q Revo here, and this should be this much the same with the others that have auto empty and mop washing dock. How often do you want to wash the mop? Now this is interesting because, so let's say it takes an hour to clean my floor plan. I could have it go back to the dock every 15 minutes. And what that does is it makes sure that the mop pads are fresh the whole time it cleans your house, because if you have a especially dirty floor, then the mop pads will get dirty quickly, and you run the risk of it mopping with dirty pads and therefore creating dirty streaks. Now, it's not likely to happen with most floors, but I do really like this option to have it return at least once, maybe twice during its run in my size floor plan. So I really do appreciate that. I'd keep it at 20 here. Let's see, washing mode. Higher water consumption, suitable for medium-sized homes with balanced cleaning speed and performance, suitable for clean environments with reduced cleaning time and water consumption. So this is basically, I think, how deeply or how long it spins the pads and how much water it uses to clean the pads when it goes back to its dock. I would say, deep. if you can. I mean, you'll have to change the water more and empty the water more, but you do want to keep those pads as clean as you can, which is a pretty cool thing to be able to adjust that. I actually didn't know that it did that. Auto empty, there's no reason in my mind to ever have that unchecked. The robot is going to automatically empty its dust bin. Auto drying, I think that's a really great thing. You can adjust how long you want it to dry for. This is something that you may notice. There's a very slight noise of the fan when it's drying. So if that is a bother to you, you may want to do it less. It defaults here to 3 hours, which I assume is enough to actually make the pads dry, though I haven't actually tested it. But the downside here would be the noise, but it's pretty quiet. I mean, you've got to really listen for it. Okay, so those are the dock settings. Robot voice, you can change the volume of it, and you can change the language, etc. Robot settings, button lights, child lock, so the buttons or your pet actually can't turn it on and off with the buttons. Do not disturb mode, so you can set a time of day where it's not going to run or make any noises, which it shouldn't do anyway if you don't have your schedule going. But off-peak charging, the robot will only fully charge during off-peak hours. Minimum power will be maintained at other times. Offline map, the device will shut down automatically if left unchanged for more than 12 hours. Enabling offline map also allows you to know where the device was going was going before going offline. And then you can determine if you want your measurements to be in square feet or square meters. And that is over here. You can see in my top left, the cleaning area, 506 square feet it has judged it to be. And we've got a couple other things here. Pin and go. So this is where you put a little marker somewhere on the map and tell it to clean that area. And it will do kind of like a spot clean thing. Remote control. Quite frankly, this is at this point just kind of a toy. You can use this exactly like a joystick, and it will go wherever you want. But I can't for the life of me think of a reason to use that. There was a time when that was something that could be used. Cleaning history. So not only do you see all the times that you've cleaned, but you can go back and you can, see what it did during that time, how long it cleaned, or, every detail that you want to know about its cleaning history. Maintenance. This is pretty cool. It kind of tells you where you are with your life of different components on the vacuum. User manual, it's good to have online. Firmware updates, probably if you have just downloaded this, you're going to need to update your firmware. And I would recommend doing that, because the cool thing about robot vacuums is that, especially with things like obstacle avoidance, is that they are always improving its obstacle avoidance and other features. And a firmware update can really change the behavior for the better on a robot vacuum. So I'd keep that up to date. I would even do an auto update probably on it as well. Device sharing, you can share the device with other. Okay, so I think that's it for this tutorial. I think I hit everything. Let me just make sure that I'm not missing anything. That's literally everything I can think of that you might want to know with your Roborock app.